very much. So, Brett Yormark, Big 12 commissioner. He was on with a podcast with a very, very interesting comments from him. This is with Len Perna, CEO and chairman CEO of Turnkey ZRG. There's a picture that's part of the interview, and there's another one. Our goal is to launch Big 12 Mexico, which he'll be there next week, and then also it's the best job of my life, and we know Brett Yormark's had a bunch of pretty interesting and exciting jobs.
And the one before, he worked for Jay-Z.
Yeah. So here are some bullet points from our Brian Etheridge at 365 Sports and SicEm365.com. Paul will go one at a time. Promises that he made to the Big 12 board. Business Summit announced last week. We knew about that. That's coming up right before the Big 12, I think, baseball championships, Big 12 championships. Reinvent championships by bringing the intersection of culture and sport, football and basketball. Is that kind of what he did with the concert up in Kansas City?
Yeah, I mean, all those things. It's like it's not just going to be about the game. It's going to be an event. It's going to be a weekend. It's going to be a reason to go to Dallas for 2 days and hang out there. There's going to be things to do there. It's going to be a reason to go to Kansas City for a week, because that's really what Big 12, the championships are. And you have to capitalize on. Here's the other thing about, you may not realize this if you were say, hey, I'd like to go to the conference championship. Well, some people buy all session tickets, right?
Yep.
So, but most people don't, because most people go there because they want to watch Iowa State or they want to watch Oklahoma or whatever. They're going to go watch Texas. There are guys, I've been on the flight with them like 6 times. There are guys, there's a group of guys who are probably about 70 years old now. They all go, they watch Texas, they sit in the same seats every year, but when Texas is over, I could follow them out of the building and I know what bar they're going to.
Yep. That's
what they do. So what do you do to make sure that those people stay around your event and don't just wander off into the big city? You have other things.
Besides
so that's
basketball.
what he's doing, yeah.
All right, drive meaningful and additional revenue. They're slowly but surely doing that. Probably going to make some additional revenue, perhaps, not just with the summit, but also with what they do, of course, with that Big 12 Pro Day, which is next year up in at the Star in Frisco, the home of the Cowboys. Also, concert tour coming in the next few weeks, part of the $75 million revenue generation to be announced. That's something Brian Etheridge, one of our partners, brought up, that there's going to be a launch of additional revenue in the neighborhood of about $75 million that will be split among those in the Big 12, but it's a concert tour, not just in Arlington at a football championship, or not in Kansas City, not just that because of the Big 12 championships, but other concerts because of his ability, because of what he's done in his past.
Well, look, you've got 12 venues that are all pretty large for a concert, right? If not more. I mean, like, let's just call it 24 venues, because you've got basketball arenas too. Mm-hmm. So there are things, you've got 24 venues right away that you could put a pretty big name into a concert and make the Big 12 seem pretty cool. Because, you can put 50,000 people into McLean Stadium for a big event. Now, I will caution him against trying to sell concerts in Waco, Texas. We're awful about it. We're terrible.
Well, maybe not. Maybe
but
that's
if
about
it's
to
good
change.
enough, yeah. So hopefully Brett Yormark can help that. But, people will show, like, in Lubbock, Texas, where they probably don't get a whole lot of big-name acts, like, if you put Blake Shelton in Lubbock, that's going to pop off. I mean, it's going to be a big deal.
Our Texas Tech fans can tell us what kind of concerts.
Yeah,
I'm sure they get plenty of concerts. But I get what you're saying.
But I mean, like a big name, because, again, Lubbock is not – if you look at most concert tours, they're through big cities, and, like, if it's a smaller city, so if it was like Dallas, if they're going to Texas and they're doing Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio, they're probably not going to Lubbock because it's off the beaten path, because they're going to have to – go along the way. They'd probably rather just go to Oklahoma City, Paul, and keep on up 35.
Luke Bryan, coming up, I believe, sometime this month. Lil Nino, Trap Boy Fetty. He's gonna. So they'll have concerts because it's a college town, and so
okay,
yeah. But
Lubbock was a bad example. Manhattan.
Okay. All right.
Ames. They're not like Blake Shelton's not going to Ames. Luke Bryan's not going to Ames. It doesn't happen
if you're
unless
a Kansas State fan or an Iowa State fan. Let us know what the concerts are in your city.
You, it doesn't happen.
Your point is he's trying to develop other additional type opportunities for revenue and that younger crowd, which again is hard to get because they're really busy and very, very much preoccupied. Launch, this was interesting. Big 12 Mexico. He's going to Mexico, in fact, next week, launching Big 12 Mexico. There are a few people that are in that country of Mexico. Maybe there's a way for you to do something there in Big 12 country, at least has some sort of presence in a country that just happens to be connected to the state of Texas. Yeah. And okay, California too, in a way.
Yeah, and
Arizona.
I mean, and that's not anything yet, but it could be. But yeah, no, you actually have to. Again, it's about being international.
You wonder if that means, is there going to be a game in Mexico City? Are they going to have a Big 12 game, which means somebody would have to give up a home game?
Well, they could do it like the Ireland thing, where it's
Dublin,
week 0 kind of a thing. So,
all right,
yeah.
Here's another one that's got a little bit of Brian Etheridge's information attached to it. Yormark saying in this, again, podcast with the chairman and CEO, Len Perna of Turnkey ZRG, not just about dollars, but also exposure. Must have both, though. This has been something that Brian says has been the message anytime there has been any discussion, how many there have been, how recently they have been with Arizona and also Colorado.
Yeah, and anybody else is like, that's what, the benefit of this media deal is it's not just about $38 million or $32.1 million a year, what it is, $32 million, that it's about the fact that it helps the exposure because you're across multiple platforms, you're across multiple linear networks, you're going to have those things. You're going to wind up on ABC, and you're going to wind up on those things and on Fox, which get the big numbers. You're going to be there for sure, and you don't have to worry about, well, what if this happens and this happens, because, the Big Ten and SEC have already carved out, here are our spots, on these. You're still in that ESPN Fox run, which are the two companies that really control college football, with NBC and CBS, with their prime, big time games.
Get in the consciousness of the athletes. Yormark saying we as a conference, the Big 12, must behave differently, and culture is a big one. Just, you never know whose attention you might catch. And in fact, Brian made the note of a bathing ape had recruits and players excited and saw social media engagement with that. Just part of growing the culture of the Big 12. Now, why did he push forward with the media deals? Yormark saying, as commissioner, was to stabilize and rebuild. Most dramatic was to renew the media deal to give a base to build on. He did that. Hired Endeavor to understand what a new deal could look like, and quickly realized he needed to accelerate the renewal. Firm believer of a bird in the hand. Solidified the deal in 60 days, stabilized the conference, kept the conference on the two biggest platforms. It looks better every day if you look back on it. Happy we did it. That's what Yormark is saying. Have to have vision and some luck. Now we can build the other parts to our business. There are only so many shelf spaces available. When those are gone, there isn't anything else available. That's what Brian and Sam, and we had Sam on the show Thursday, have been saying for quite some time. A couple more things. Yormark saying that his mentors have all taught him to have a few quick wins in the beginning. The media deal wasn't planned, but it was an early win, a big one. It disrupted the industry. If it hadn't gotten to that, I'm not sure I would have had the latitude to do all the other pieces that I've been able to do. And this is not Yormark. He's talking about as a conference. Did a conference organizational redesign. Be prepared for success. Add 17 bodies, which we've seen that slowly but surely, really early on. You'll hear more announcements over the next 30 to 45 days on growing the reach of the Big 12.
Yeah, one thing I will tell you that stands through Dan Beebe and Bob Bowlesby, whether it was their decision or not. I mean, the biggest thing Brett Yormark has told the Big 12 is you cannot approach things the way you always did them, because things are not the same anymore. They're not. You cannot just kind of go with the flow and find your place, because the whole college athletics space has been disrupted. So you've got to kind of jump into, you have to jump into the mess. You can't, try to navigate around it or just be, this is what the Big 12 was. The Big 12 has always been a very disorganized league when it came down to it.
Yeah.
As far as, well, who, we could go back to one true champion, or, what happened, right after one true champion where, you know, they didn't pick one true champion when they could have just done it the same year. It didn't even last 12 calendar months at all. It lasted barely 6. And you already kind of messed that up. So all of those things that happened, hey, we're going to expand. We're going to really look at it. And it was just, no, we're going to make it look like we're trying to get bigger. But we're hoping, which I do believe in that, like outside of like, hey, let's look at Memphis and Boise State and all that. They were hoping that someone was going to call them up and be like, hello, this is Arizona. We would like to join your league, please, which at that point was not going to happen because of the things that were happening inside the Big 12. And so all those things were really disorganized. Brett Yormark has created a vision for not what the conference just should be eventually, but what you are and what you're missing and what you're not promoting.
And you're showing the build and the growth. There are still many things to get done. On Charlie Baker, the new NCAA president, Yormark saying that Baker wants NIL to be regulated. Yormark said it's complicated space. I'm an advocate, want them to drive revenue and brand, but there needs to be guardrails and regularity across everyone where it's fair and transparent. Hopefully, we can find a common ground by the end of the year. Good luck with that, but that would be an amazing thing if they could figure that out and at least get guardrails. And when I say guardrails, some flare up and go, oh, my God, it's not fair. This is me quoting the commissioner of the Big 12 and also his thoughts about Charlie Baker, who's the new president of the NCAA.
Yeah.
Great job by Len Perna on this interview.
Yeah. The only Turnkey is a huge, huge company. They're
a talent evaluator, right?
Yeah,
and a
exactly,
talent processor and all that.
Yeah, and they're growing all the time. But they the good luck on, you know, hoping something gets done in less than 8 months in Congress. You know, I mean, like it just I don't you know, it's funny to hear like occasionally even like some of the crazier people will do interviews and they'll be like, do you guys understand like how ridiculous this job is? We're like, yeah, you wanted it, dumbass. Like, you know, you went and told everybody they shouldn't let this guy who also wants this job have it. And then you took it and then you got it and you realize like, oh man, they make me listen to a bunch of boring stuff all the time that I don't like. Yeah. Job's not fun.
Yeah,
like it's hard.
It's not easy and it's thankless. And then again, they all seem to be making pretty good money wherever it's coming from. All right, so the Big 12